All right, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, says the United States is about to see the biggest surge at our southern border in 20 years. They keep pushing that number back. It was 5, 10, now 20 years. This is a crisis, and it's only going to get worse despite what the White House wants to call it. Joining us now to talk more about this is Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. Senator, good morning. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
You were at the border in Arizona over the weekend, and you put out some videos on Twitter talking about how the administration is handling this crisis. Take a listen.
When you just to say, as the Biden team did when they came in, we're going to halt all wall construction, it makes this whole system nonsensical, and it makes the technology part not work at all, and makes it even harder to be able to manage this, because you're literally funneling people through all these big gaps in the fence. And to say, okay, what good is any of this if you're not going to at least finish these parts out?
Well, Senator, first of all, it's nice that somebody is going down to the border. Our own president says he has no plans to go there and address this crisis. Tell us what you saw there in Arizona along the border. I mean, just massive gaps in this wall. It looks like workers were literally told to drop their hammers and walk away and not finish a job that probably should have been finished.
Oh, absolutely should have been finished. January the 20th, the president said there is no emergency at the border anymore. Stop all construction. Though there was a $1.6 billion contract that was just agreed on by Congress, more than 90 votes in Congress, by the way. So Democrats can say we had nothing to do with this. They voted for wall construction last year. So this was approved money for the construction of the wall. We have miles and miles and miles of wall that's going up. The last thing to be able to put up are the gates that are in between, so they can open the gates and do maintenance on both sides of the wall.
Right.
So everywhere where there was going to be a maintenance gate to be installed, that gap still remains there. The roads next to the fence have not been completed. The technology has not been installed. That's the ground sensors, the cameras, the lights. It's only the fencing. So the wall is not just a wall. It's a wall system that allows multiple different elements to be able to protect our security. And literally the Biden team stopped these miles and miles and miles of wall construction from everything but the gates being closed. There's only one reason that you would not want those gates to be closed, is that you want a gap in the system. And we do not want gaps in the system, but clearly the Biden team does. And we need to get this construction back up and finish that project.
Yeah, it makes the walls completely useless. You're down there in Arizona and you can see these big, effective, beautiful new walls with massive gaps, as you pointed out, which defeats the purpose of that entire infrastructure that was set up to create the wall there. I want to talk about the situation. There's only 4 states that border our southern border, but every state is going to be affected by this if this continues. But isn't this more than just a security problem right now? Isn't this also becoming a public health crisis along our southern border as well?
It is a public health crisis. It is a security crisis. I talked to some of the folks in the area, both HHS that are there and Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection, as I visited with all of them and went through multiple different sites and asked, where are the people coming in, where are they coming from, and where are they going to? Over and over again, it's these folks are leaving, going to Boston, going to New York, going to California,
right.
That they're actually headed those different directions. They're coming from all over the world. They had individuals that were in custody at that time from China, from India, from Guatemala, from Honduras, from El Salvador, obviously from Mexico, from Brazil. So they're coming in from multiple different places. They're obviously coming in, many of them affected by COVID, and they're being released out into the public. And as some of the mayors in Arizona have said, they're incredibly frustrated because when the facilities fill up, literally the Biden team is just turning people out and dropping them off in towns in Arizona and saying, you've got to find your way to wherever you're going to go and show up in a court hearing 2 years from now to actually get a court hearing 2 years from now.
Yeah,
so there are major problems. This has reinstituted the catch and release. This has reopened the border to migrants. This has reopened the border to minors, even in that the Biden team has already announced that we might turn you around if you're 18 and older, but if you're 17 and younger, this is a change from what the Trump team was doing, is that they were trying to make it very clear that no matter who you are during the time of the COVID pandemic, we're going to turn you back around. It's called Title 42 authority,
right.
That we're not going to allow you into the country. The Biden team has said, well, we're thinking about that for adults, but if you're 17 and younger, we'll definitely let you in.
And this is not 2019 all over again. This is far worse than that. Alejandro Mayorkas saying it's the worst in 20 years. This could be a generational crisis. But
let me give you one quick statistic
Sure.
on that. In February of last year, before COVID, under 40,000 people were detained in February. This February, over 100,000.
And we are nowhere near the peak season, which is generally a month from now, the beginning of that. 4 migrants at the border are on U.S. terrorist watch lists. We are seeing people from Yemen, Iran, Turkey cross the borders, meaning they are exploiting what's going on there. And people, I heard some of the conversation yesterday was, well, it was only 4. Senator, it only takes 1. We learned that 20 years ago, almost, on 9/11. How scary is this to think about the people that have gotten past the border that we didn't catch?
Yeah, it's very scary because once you have the cartels moving people, the cartels don't care who they're moving. They're just moving people through and getting the money for it. And people need to understand that anyone that's moving through Mexico is paying a fee to the cartels to be able to do this. So this is funding human trafficking. This is funding the cartels, and the cartels don't care if they're bringing terrorists in or if they're bringing individuals in that want to be able to come work or connect with other family members. They're just funneling in as many people as they can, and every access point that they have to be able to move people into the country, they're using it.
The Dallas Convention Center is going to be used to house 3,000 teenage boys. 56 days ago, when Donald Trump was president, they were kids in cages. Now they are being called humane teenage holding facilities. My, how quickly things have changed.
Yeah, it's 1984 doublespeak all the time in this conversation from the administration as they try to turn things around. And every time that they say these are children coming in, when I was there on the border this weekend, I asked, define children for me. How old are these children? And they said the vast majority of them are 16 and 17-year-old males that are coming to the country. So while the Biden team is trying to say, well, it's children here, making people think it's 4-year-olds crossing the border, it's 16 and 17-year-old males that are crossing the border in vast numbers right now, and the Biden team is allowing all of them in.
Sir, about 15 seconds. How important is it for Joe Biden to travel to the border? He said yesterday he has no plans to go.
Well, he should go. That's part of the United States, you know. And so if he's going to be there and declare there's not an emergency, he should put eyes on it rather than saying there's no emergency and then sending the Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, to be able to go oversee what is clearly a crisis at the border. He needs to lay eyes on it and see what he has created.
I agree. Senator James Lankford, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Come back and see us soon.
Look forward to it.